I'll do a quick intro. Today we have Roxana Baldova, who's just a complete like force of nature. You have, directed music videos and commercials for Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, and I mean, let's talk about HBO's Project Greenlight, where you were pitching to like an incredible panel of $1 million pitch, like $1 million
Yeah,
movie. So
crazy
yeah,
experience.
yeah. Just what a trajectory, what a story. And I'm sure you have so much to share. So what I'm doing is I'm creating an open forum to talk about the treatment pitch process for directors and hoping to help emerging directors to not get stuck in the mud of even understanding the process, which, I did for years until I really felt like I was in my groove. And yeah, it's just, and even just like connecting together about it feels like a breath of fresh
Totally.
air because the treatment process is such a huge part of what we do, and it's just cloaked and a hidden mysterious process. So yeah, I mean, I thought maybe you can, if you want to do a quick intro about what you're doing now, or where you started, we can kind of get into it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that the treatment process is sort of like a learning curve that you have to learn on your own as well.
Yeah.
Because, and also with technology moving too, it's like I find myself like putting like AI in treatments now and GIFs in treatments now, whereas I feel like, I've been doing this since in the label system since 2016. So it's going on 8 years
Oh,
now.
wow.
And, you know, I feel like, it's so cutthroat and, you think that you are like coming up with the best idea ever and you see the idea fully in your head, but like you have no idea what other people are thinking too in terms of like what they're writing. And, I didn't have anyone tell me because like I was just doing my treatments on Photoshop for a long time. And so I was really just doing photo images and I thought they looked great, but I didn't have anyone tell me up until like my new rep, like a couple weeks ago. He was like, "Yeah, your treatments are like a BB minus, and we need to make them better." Like, no one's ever said that to me. I thought my treatments were pretty good.
I mean,
So
you're
I'm
booking
actually going.
Snoop Dogg. Like, come on, you've hustled for yourself, but I'm sure they're not. I mean, it's your EP's probably just trying to elevate you, but
Totally. I mean, that's the point. It's like we can always be elevating
yeah,
ourselves. And so
yeah,
yeah, I've actually been working on, just elevating my own, like way of, and honestly, sometimes I don't even agree with it. I'm like, I think this looks kind of messy, and the font is really small, but this is what people want. So,
well,
sometimes, yeah, it's kind of such like a taste thing too with writing treatments of like, just making sure that the idea gets across is like the most important thing, and making sure like your pages look really cohesive too.
yeah. Well, I think you've already brought up something that's really interesting because I feel like you're everyone's sort of their own brand, and you like your website is very much like your brand, and you just like you feel it like oozing with you and your personality. And I also feel like that's an opportunity to come through in the treatment because if you can't represent yourself, if you can't present it to them, at least they're like getting a sense of who you are by by way of this pitch. And that I personally feel like it should feel like you. And what I mean, whether you definitely elevate it, but you don't have to kind of fit it into what's trendy. I would hope not, but yeah, I mean, that's like a trying to guide that process of having a personality come through in the design. I think is like a whole nother chapter that we could talk about.
Totally.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
definitely. And then, with like the bigger commercial jobs, like you mentioned, Snoop Dogg, because I feel like people don't even talk about that. I have a director friend of mine who is doing commercials, and I feel like when you're doing a commercial job, you're almost always going to have a team of like, a treatment writer and someone to help you find the images and stuff. And so I feel like
yeah.
when I'm treatments for commercials, I feel a lot more supported in that process because like, you just have a team of people that are like doing it on InDesign. Like, I don't know, what do you do your treatments on?
Yeah, I'm really I need like immediate feedback. I think like some of the treatment designers that I work with despise using Google Slides, but I do like it because I can like go in there and comment, and also just having the flexibility. If you're right, like if you're in the position where you're lucky, you've been doing this for 8 years, you might have a rep that can help you do all these things, as opposed to being a freelance director that's doing all of it. But so to have that is such a benefit, and I want my EP to like comment on things, you know, and just so, because you're always under a tight deadline. So I prefer slides for that, but InDesign, it has much more like professional flexibility in terms of the design. So I think it's really like pro and con. Like there's so many, you know, different ways you can approach it. But I like Google Slides, which is like kind of uncool.
Slides, actually. I've been working on Canva lately, and honestly, like at first I was like a super anti-Canva for a really long time. But you know, I tried to do the InDesign thing because I was working on Photoshop, so I thought it could be like an easy switch. But no, very complicated. And anytime I worked with someone on InDesign, it felt frustrating because I couldn't like go in and make edits myself because I didn't know how to use the program, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like Canva, Google Slides, like it's actually like, you know, keeping it simple, like using a Google Slides or a Canva actually is like, you know, I find people even talk about Keynote. I feel like that's like the best way to go about it because it's like simple and efficient. So
yeah, I mean, I think you have to do what works for you and is the least like uphill, because I mean, what you should be spending your time on is like the actual ideas and the script, or, you know, the core concept. And the more that takes you away from that, the more that you're like having to worry about the design and worrying about how to edit something. It's just like, you know, taking up more of your time when there's so many more important things about like focusing on for the job. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's,
no. I was saying, absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about your perspective, though, is you do pitch like a lot of both. Like you pitch music videos and commercials. And I mean, I'm sure you've done TV, so I haven't even like graced that space of like those types of pitch decks. But this course that I've kind of built in this little community is focused mainly on commercial work. But I would love to hear, you know, do you approach your music video treatments different than your commercial treatments? Like it's like a whole different game, right?
Totally, yeah, because I feel like in music videos, like they don't really want to read. Like they just want to see the images and like make it as like you know, as least wordy as possible. And then with still obviously getting your point across. Whereas I feel like with commercials, it's very like filler words. Like in this eccentric piece, we're gonna be using the most buoyant like lighting. Like I don't know, like you have to like
buoyant lighting.
I don't
so
you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's definitely a really different approach because I feel like with commercial decks, like the agencies want to be like super thorough about what you're writing, whereas in music videos, they're just like, what is it going to look like? And then also, I feel like in commercials, you know, more often than not, we're getting a brief from them, right? Whereas in music, sometimes we'll get a brief. Like I worked on this Big Sean video last night, which I'm really excited. And I did
amazing.
I did I did a video that I think you know, I changed my entire treatment perspective after getting the note from my EP. So I wrote the treatment like entirely differently than I usually would yesterday, but I'm actually really proud of it. And I was like super resistant for, you know, a while about like, you know, because I don't really understand that treatment style, but at the same time I know that that's what sells. So I'm like, okay, let me just try it. And I'm really proud of it. So fingers crossed. You see me doing this video in a little bit. But yeah, I feel like you know, it's with this Big Sean video, you know, they did give us a brief for it. So we had to like go off of his ideas, but I feel like a lot of times when you're writing a music video, you don't get a brief to work off of, like you're just creating the brief. So that's like a really big difference between commercials and music videos, I feel, you know?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, I remember getting like I do music videos very rarely, but you know, it's so different with like getting 2 lines of text, like from the artist. Like the artist wants this. It's like, you know, that's the brief. No visuals or anything, which is great. I mean, in a way, because it's like really open. But then I think some people struggle with the huge, like no boundaries thing, you know, but you are really great at that. But Yeah, yeah. But I love that you shared that you totally changed your pitch based on maybe their feedback or your
Well,
EP's feedback.
actually, I mean, I think I was doing Photoshop up until like a year ago, and then I just kept on getting the same feedback of like you need gifts.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, do you put gifts in your treatments?
Yeah, I do. I like because I came from the photography side too. I sort of started doing my photo treatments that way because I was asking to do motion, and then now that I'm doing mostly directing work, I just think it mixes it up. But sometimes it can be like overwhelming, so you don't want to like have the whole page moving.
Right.
It's like a light touch. I think.
Totally,
Um,
it's all balance.
that's so funny that they requested that of you,
Yeah,
like get some gifts.
and so I guess it's like I don't know because like I feel like this industry is so like sacred about the treatments.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
it's so weird. Like obviously, friends will share treatments, but it's also hard to find director friends, right? I can
Yeah.
count my hand.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like, I feel that we don't really know how other people's presentations are looking, so we don't really have a baseboard to go off of. And I feel like that was like something that I unknowingly was struggling with for so long,
Mhm.
because I mean, yeah, I've done some great videos, but the what I think is like my best work that never got made is, and I'm sure you feel
I
the same way,
know.
don't we all feel that way as creatives? We're like, oh, this could have been such a good idea.
Oh yeah, that's actually another good point. Like the um what's it called? Like the just like the killed ideas, like the ideas that are like on the cutting room floor sort of. But yeah, those like hurt so because you're like, oh, it would have been so epic. And but it's something I talk about too, is like learning to lose. And it's you have to have a really thick skin. And the Daniels have been pushing for like they started that, and we've talked about before the events that are We Direct music
Right.
videos, and them trying to create just a baseline to potentially at least get uh, reimbursed or get paid to do treatments. And I mean, they're pushing for that. It's a long shot. I know it's even a longer shot in the advertising world. So it can be daunting, and you put your heart into these like ideas, and um, I mean, I like to look at it is that you're at bat. The more that you pitch, the better that you get at it, and the more you learn.
Totally.
And if you do, like, have you ever had it where you've lost a project or a music video, but they come back to you for more, and then you like win a different one?
Yeah, I've had a few instances of like them making me write this treatment like 4 different times.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, like,
yeah.
oh, I mean, honestly, in my experience, the 2 times that has happened, one time I wrote 4 treatments, met with the artist team, went to the choreography meetings, everything the night before their shoot. They're like, oh, actually, we're going to go with a different director, but we'll give you half your rate. And
Wow.
this was in 2018, so this was a long time ago, but it would have been my most viewed video. So it's pretty, you know what, fuck it, I'll just say it. It's Danny Lee, Little Baby. And so, that was really hurtful for me because they did my exact treatment word for fucking word, shot by shot. It was a one-shot video. Like
Oh
everything was a
my
one. And
God.
yeah, so I was young and naive at the time, and so I feel had I done that, had so basically I was like, okay, I'll take half the rate, but I also want writing credit because I wrote this whole idea. And
Mm-hmm.
they were like, oh, only directors and producers get credit, but we'll give you the rate.
Oh,
And the
wow.
next day, the fucking video came out because I signed the contract, and so I feel like I would never let that slide now. But those are just
Wow.
things where, and of course, the label's like, we're gonna give you another video, don't worry. It's been 6 years, I still haven't worked with them. So,
Whoa.
really,
This is like so interesting to hear. These are like the things you are concerned about. You have this like published link of your treatment that lives forever online that anyone can go back to and reference. And I'm just so excited that you like stuck up for yourself and got some of your rate, even though it completely didn't go according to plan. Like they stole the idea, they stole your work, but you got paid for it, but you didn't get credited for it, which is like this catch 20. It's like does that even matter? Like, you want to get credit for your ideas.
Right.
Um, Dang, that is like, yeah, I think that I try to figure out a way to have like a copyright, like on the, I mean, I've done that for pitches when it's sort of a partnership with a brand that I'm actually not asked to treat on it. Um, but that's something I've often considered, like if I could add some legal language, because they make us sign
Right.
NDAs. So why don't we do the reverse? Like, we have to protect ourselves too. And it gets blurry when you're talking about ideas that haven't been produced yet. It's like, how do you protect an idea that's all in theory? So this is a really big conversation that I feel like we can, that I want to dive in deeper and do more research on.
Yeah, I feel like I've always been so like I don't want to cause drama. I don't want to like stir the pot. But there's like so many fucking fucked up stories there, and that one burned me for a few years. It took me like a few years to get over that just because
Mm-hmm.
the video did do so well, and
Oh,
like it was like painstakingly like storyboard my fucking thing. You know what I mean? So I was just like,
wow.
and I just wouldn't do that to someone, like in terms of like, have you been sent other directors' treatments before?
Not frequently, like not from, not, I mean, I think it's like maybe my EP when I was starting out for my first signed company was like, you need help with your treatment. So like, here's an example of a better one, but not that often. And that's why I feel like, let's start talking about it. Cause we're all reinventing the wheel. It's just in our own take. So it's not like we need to be that, I mean, obviously be protective of your ideas. But the framework is relatively similar. So at least we can kind of talk about the framework and have
Right.
this
No,
conversation.
I was talking about like I've been sent director treatments where they're like, hey, this director wrote this treatment for this song and we really like the ideas, but maybe you can take these ideas and make it work for the budget or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah. And
wow.
so I mean, obviously that was what happened to me with that treatment that I didn't end up making myself where I don't know what happened, but they gave my treatment to someone else and saw what they can do with it. And the times that that has happened to me, one time it was this our community is so small, so it's like I knew the director and I told him. Um, and it's just like when that's been happened to me, like I feel so uncomfortable of like I don't want to take someone else's work. I know how much goes into creating these ideas, like I can, and then it makes me feel like grimy and slimy about the process. But then I'm also like, all right, I'll work on this treatment, but I'm not going to take any of the ideas from this because
Yeah.
that's not the
You're
way
holding
I
your
roll.
moral, yeah, you're holding your moral ground. I mean, it is disappointing that like it has to come from you or us as the directors and it can't come from like the labels and that they don't really, give an F about like, they don't, why am I like, we could swear on this, but they don't give a fuck about, yeah, just like any of these sort of, um, like respect, just like pure, like getting down to like respecting the creative process. Did you have a lawyer that helped you like fight for like money, or did you just kind of directly with the case where you had to
No,
sign a contract and?
no. I was so dumb. No, they offered me the money. They were like, "We'll give you half the rate. Um, we'll give you half the rate." And I was like, I'll take half the rate and the credit. And they were like, nope, we don't do that. And I needed the money at the time. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, hey, whatever, I'll take the money. And I just didn't expect it to be such a quick where they were like, it wasn't that they were asking me, can we shoot this video? They had already shot the video and edited it and everything.
Oh
You know,
my god.
next day after I signed that contract, the video dropped on YouTube.
Oh, so they knew some, like, what did it, how did they know, because how did you know they did exactly what you did?
Well, that's why they had to
Oh,
ask me.
so they knew they were in sticky territory. Yeah,
Like they already did it.
yeah,
It was already shot and everything. And I knew the video was called off and I knew they were reshooting it
yeah.
because, that's what my producer at the time told me. She was like, listen, like they're gonna shoot this video with someone else. And I was so confused. I was like, wait, what? Like I went through it's not like I just wrote a treatment. Like I went to the choreography, like 2 different choreography meetings, like
Yeah.
storyboards, like I was in the process, in the thick of it. So, and I know that
Yeah.
this, it's just crazy because like you hear stories and like this stuff doesn't end.
Mm.
You don't get to a certain ends, like
Yeah.
this happens, at the highest level of feature filmmaking where you're like, oh shit, that director's not on the project anymore. And you don't know what happened internally. Like that
Yeah.
happened recently with someone. I think it might have been like a Marvel movie. I can't remember now, but I read this recently where I was like, oh wow, they were like in there and then it got out. So that's when I'm like, fuck dude. Like it's like it's not like we're ever gonna get to a place where we're not fighting constantly.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
constant battle of our creative endeavors.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It's a love-hate relationship.
yeah, I didn't get a lawyer. I mean, maybe I should have. I think that at the time I was still like, maybe I think I didn't really know my worth and I kind of like believed the system, to be honest.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, the label was like, we loved it and we love you and we promise we're gonna get you back for this. Like we owe you. That was in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're disconnected. If you have a call coming in, that might do it. Let's see. All right. She is frozen, I think. I think you see her frozen, and I think you see me talking to myself. I'm not sure. I'm also not sure if you guys can hear me. Roxana! Rejoin! Hi! Oh, you got stuck out. Okay, let's see if this can work. Rejoin. Hmm. Oh, cool. Okay, so you left and now you're rejoining. Sweet. Technical difficulties, how it goes.
Oh my
Hey.
God. Okay. I was gonna use that to change the lighting scenario. I didn't want to be rude during it, so
Oh,
we're
the
changing the
lighting
lighting
scenario.
scenario.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, I love it because there's like natural errors in this process of
yeah,
live, and it's
the
like,
live way.
yeah, it's kind of exciting.
Wow,
It's
it's
like,
much better. Okay, I was like, shit.
oh, I mean, either one, you're glowing. Um,
Anyway, sorry.
so
I don't even know who that was. It was probably a telemarketer.
yeah, yeah, I have to remember to put mine on do not disturb so I don't like
I
get messed up. But
had to do that. I've never used Do Not Disturb, which is
oh,
perfect.
I like religious about it. I know. So let's talk about like what about so let's talk about commercial treatments because we definitely have learned so much about music video treatments and how to protect yourself and just being aware of the circumstances that can happen. But let's talk about if you're up for a commercial project and you're pitching on it and you maybe don't have the spot on your reel, do you like strategize about how can I find my voice to pitch me through even though maybe I'm not the favorite or I'm the long shot or they have a preferred bidder, like do you go all in, do you go big with your ideas, or do you like how do you approach something like
Yeah,
that?
so I think that you always have to be true to yourself. Like for example, for the Snoop Dogg one, I was the long
Oh
shot,
really?
but then
That's
I
amazing.
so I mean, I was definitely wasn't like the number one contender, like you.
Okay.
So I think okay, so in commercials, I feel like everything is much more transparent.
Mm.
And it's just much more of like a streamlined process. Like there's a formula. It's triple bid. Yeah, you know who the directors
Mm.
are, yada 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 yada. Whereas like in music videos, it could be one person, it could be 10 people. You don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, for the Snoop Dogg job, I know that like they were like, well, you've never done any alcohol and you don't really have a narrative, but like we like your music video style, whatever. So I knew that they wanted to kind of play into this like trippy VFX world, and I was like, oh my god, okay, let me lean into that trippy VFX
yeah.
world. Same thing happened with the Cheetos thing. I yeah, like I knew I was actually going against like, one of my favorite like directors and production companies.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
and so like, and it was funny because then I ran into him at a party, the EP that I was bidding in. He was like, "Congratulations on the Cheeto job." And I was like, I was going to do like fire, and so it's always cool in the commercial process to like see like I don't know, like you could be in really good company and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, wow, like I really like love these directors and they're choosing me, or even like being a part of that conversation is amazing. But what was your original question? I'm sorry. I
No,
lost
this
this.
is no, this is really good feedback too. Just to think of it as like being in the bidding pool is still a step up from, there's probably like 10 to 20 links that of reels that the EP, like the agency producers going through, and then you're chosen out of that. So it's still it's like a nomination. It's like a gold
And
globe. But they want to see your idea. So it's already like a compliment, and then who you're in the bidding pool with is exciting to see who you're up against. Like it's like you're leveling up. Like who are you amongst your peers? And yeah, I mean, I love that perspective, and I'm so excited about because I just want to prove the point that just because you don't have a spot on your reel, you can overcome. Like I want to hear those stories because it's just so exciting. It's like motivating to feel like okay, you can push through. They can trust you, and those are two amazing
so
examples.
but at the same, okay, so this is what I was going to say. Now I remember. So, but at the same time, I feel like we have to always be true. So I'm always true to myself, which is like maybe like basically I wrote on this Welch's job,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was not. I was the I was the shoe in.
Okay.
They were
Nice.
making me feel so good about it. You got the job, yada yada.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I wrote what I wanted to do, and I knew that they were a bit more conservative, or like I knew that I was writing something out there, but
Yeah.
I still wrote something out there because that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
do. And there was a voice inside me being like, "This is too crazy for them," but I
Mm.
still wrote it, and then I didn't get the job. So it's like,
Interesting.
never feel like you have, like, I think it's just always a dance of like every job, and like knowing the company that you're working for too, or like writing for, right? Like, what are their brand? Because every brand is like, they have their brand guidelines and they're so strict about that. And so, yeah, I mean, the commercial ended up coming out beautifully that they ended up going with, but yeah, it's like you have to know when to kill your own darlings
Yeah.
to actually go through with the job,
Yeah.
so that was actually a lesson I feel, because I spoke to them afterwards and I was like, they didn't, that was a little too much for them, huh? They were like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so nice when you can actually like get feedback after the pitch process, and if they're willing to be open about like, well, what was the reason? And sometimes it's like completely out of your control, and sometimes it is you and your ideas, which hopefully it should be about the creative, and it shouldn't be about like the budget. Like you're too expensive. They wanna go with somebody that is expensive or whatever. Like it. I hope it's always about the creative,
Right.
but I know that sometimes there's like a lot of other factors that come into play outside of like just what we're putting down and laying down all those ideas. Um, but so when you start, well, first of all, you kind of did you pivot from music videos to commercial work, or did you do both from the very
No,
beginning?
yes, so Rebecca actually found me on an Instagram live because I was doing IG lives during quarantine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she just responded to my story. I were like, on the comment section. She was like, "Would you ever do a commercial?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I would do a commercial." Because my company before Rebecca, they were like, "Oh, well, you don't have any commercials on your reel, so what you were
Yeah.
saying, so we can't get you a commercial." And here comes this girl that's never met me on Instagram, being like, "Hey, you want to do a commercial? I think you'd be good for it." So it's always just like Lady Gaga says, there could be 100 people in the room. All you need is that one person. So yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't start doing commercials until 2021, 2 years ago.
Oh, no way. Wow, your reel is sick for that
Thank
amount of
you.
time.
Oh my,
Wow. It's so interesting. And I feel like you need the right EP to be able to like position you in a way that can transition because a lot of times it's like people they're not thinking outside of the box. Like, oh, she does music videos, we're not going to reach out to her for commercials. But if you have the right team behind you, they can help you like make that pivot and like set you up and curate your kind of the perception of you. So that is super cool to hear. I mean, so much like success already. But so when you start your treatment process, like when you get off the creative call, in terms of commercials, do you just like, you know, where do you begin? Because it can also feel very daunting to stare at the blank page and, you know, start writing, or do you start like visualizing, or do you start doodling, or like, do you have like a, you know, flow?
I definitely don't doodle. I'm bad at drawing. I wish I could doodle. Do you doodle?
I sometimes like to like either get an iPad out, have the boards, and just like start like marking everything up, like as if it's just all malleable sometimes, so I can really see it.
Cool.
But other times I'll just go right into writing, and I can easily get lost in visuals, but I try to be really religious about each step, because if I go this way, then that way, and then it's like my thought process is a little too disorganized. But it can be chaotic. The way you think of ideas is not like one flow.
It's
like
definitely not a linear line.
Yeah, not linear. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really project to project, but I do feel like I start with the visuals in terms of like Shot Deck and Pinterest, and maybe there's a music video, a movie that I know, or even a campaign or a painting. I don't know, like, but I definitely go into the visual references first, and then from there I'll be writing. You know, really depends. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, I know the perfect location for this, and then I'll like get into it. But yeah, no matter what though, now that we're talking about it, I think it definitely starts for me with like the visual figure. Actually, but lately I've been going to AI.
Oh, really? Okay.
A lot in Midjourney lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so not the Big Sean one. That one I didn't do any AI actually, but the treatment I did before that, for this girl Kali, it was really sick, the stuff I was getting in Midjourney. I got like this clown,
Oh my God.
like a hip hop clown, like in the middle of a
no way.
But yeah, Midjourney's been, the first time I did Midjourney was on my Cheetos commercial in March of last year. And I feel like that was more Dolly that I was doing. But the way the technology has even like transformed since then in less than a year is like, it's so much more realistic now. So
yeah.
Have you been working AI at all?
Yeah, actually, my last pitch, I did spend so much time like making the set design, focusing on these like out of this world environments, and it was so freeing because you know, I'm kind of getting sick of like the references that I have and being able to like mix them and blend them, and especially something that I think it really speaks to, like, we're making something that hasn't been done before, even though everybody wants to see the spot on your reel, or they want to see, they're hiring you to do a style. But the truth is what you're trying to create is something original. So it shouldn't already exist. And so there's something really freeing about relying on AI to completely create imagery that is not out there and that is not pulled from, you know, all of the places, and feels like we're reiterating, you know, something and bringing it all together to kind of like make this collage of ideas. Oh, we have some friends here. Question mark. Who's asking a question? Body by P. Who's our audience? Question mark. Well, please ask questions if you have any in the chat. What are your thoughts on the like length of a treatment, or, you know, do you try to keep it tight? Do you just keep going? Like, do you think the longer the better? Is there a trend or any trends that you feel like? I think you kind of mentioned the motion thing, like GIFs are kind of becoming a trend to have a lot in treatments, but
no, I don't think I'm really like for natural length, you know, but I do think probably like 15 pages is like, it depends because obviously with commercials, like if you're having like a full script and you want to like break down every, you know, thing. I mean, it actually goes the same for music videos. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if you're doing a really intricate video and you're going like lyric by lyric, you know, I mean, the one
Yeah.
I did, it was like 20 pages. I think between 15 and 25 pages is like the usual for me. But like, you know, I've done
Yeah.
something 11 pages before, and you know,
Yeah.
I've been in 7 pages before, you know, so I
Yeah.
think it's, and then, you know, some directors are very lucky and they're able to just write Word documents and get their videos done. So, you know, I don't think that there's a I think it's so project to project based, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, do you have like a page number that you try to keep it at?
Well, I recently tried to actually like reduce my pages and just be way more concise because I recently lost a job in the spring, and one of the reasons why was that it was just like so long and daunting. And it's one of those things where I was so excited to, give a lot of ideas, and I was almost giving like too many alt
Yeah.
ideas, and it was just too much. And now, I learned the hard way. And I think that's actually come up twice, like a while ago, and I sort of forgot the lesson I should have learned then. But the less concise you are and the more you're just proposing ideas, I mean, yes, it shows that you're a collaborator, but I think at a certain point it can hurt you. And I learned that the hard way. Like, I have to just contain all the excitement and make it like, this is what we're doing, or this is what we're doing. What do you think? As opposed to like, here are all the ideas. Like, it's just
Yeah.
not supposed to be like a stream of consciousness. So, yeah, I taking advice from you because I love that like 20-page, 25-page number. If
I
I
How long was your daunting treatment?
uh, like 60 pages, 65. It was a lot of like mood. It was a lot of mood boards, and there was a lot of transitions I was showing. And I think it was just, it's not like the written portion is that long. It's just
Right.
that there was a lot of supporting visuals that,
Totally.
and because it was like 5 different sets, so I was like, okay, this page mood board for like this set, and so that just easily like became a huge, just
No,
outlandish.
had treatments get to like 36, I think,
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is really fucking long. You know, because you have to put yourself in their
yeah,
shoes of like, do you want to read 65 pages of this person's idea? But then it's like it's fucked up to us too because it's like you probably put so much time and energy into that
yeah,
treatment. You know what I mean? Be
yeah.
like, no, she cares too much. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trying to put more of like a CEO, like business hat on. Like, what is my ROI? Because I spend too much. I know, right? But seriously though, it's like we're our own boss, and sometimes I spend too much time in creative land, and it like doesn't serve me. So I got to be like, okay, other boss, like talk to the Christina version that's like being so creative. Like she's really great creative, but this is a job. You're solving a problem, and it just contain like yourself and contain your excitement, and really just think about how much time I'm putting into this treatment versus the likelihood of me getting it, because my time can be spent better elsewhere. So really like
yeah,
trying to give myself time limits in a way, to just be more like responsible with my process, I guess, for my business, because I could spend weeks treating on something, I could like days and hours, but if there's no return, like if I don't book the job, then, so I just want to diversify and like spend time, even with like, they always say like your previous clients are kind of the best ones for repeat business, so really spend time nurturing the connections that you have and building on those, and obviously planting new
right.
seeds. But yeah, I'm just, trying to put multiple hats on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's true. And that, like, and there's just like so many factors that go into everything too, because like, you know, there's like so many people, other, like, it's like, you know, you never know what's going on internally with a team you are working with as well. Like, if they're changing management or they're changing the agency or they're having like, you
Right.
know, there's moving parts within them too,
Right.
you know? So there's just so much like against us and for us at the same time, because then even like with music videos, I love if I don't get a job and the video comes out and I'm like, wow, this was better than what I wrote. I want that.
Mm.
Do you know how little times that happens, that's such a rarity for me. Like so many times they choose the most simple, basic thing of like a warehouse with some asteras blowing, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me? Like I made like, you know, like some visual
Wow.
masterpiece and you just wanted me in a warehouse with some lights.
Oh
But
my God.
or the video never comes out because the song doesn't come out, or the song didn't do well because
Yeah.
label is also thinking about their ROI, and they're like, well, if this song is only getting 10,000 plays right now, maybe I shouldn't do a video for it. You know, like
Oh yeah.
I've written a treatment. I wrote a treatment with an artist. The artist seeked me out, right? She seeked me out, knew she wanted to work with me. Like we met on Zoom, everything. I thought, again, you think it's a shoe-in, right? You're talking to the artist, and then the label was like, "Oh, it's too late," and they knew this too. Like they said it in our first conversation, but I was like, "Well, they wouldn't be talking to me right now if it was too late, right?" But in their minds, it was like too late to market a video for that song. So why did you
Oh.
write a
Oh.
treatment?
Oh man. Wow.
Like,
Yeah. I think like being respectful of people's time. I mean, it's such a bummer when that is like overlooked because it's just a lot of wasted energy.
yeah,
Um,
they
yeah.
don't respect us
I
at all.
well, I mean, I feel like we could keep, there's so much, like we could keep going on about so many things. I mean, I wanted to see like if there's any, thoughts you had like to wrap it up with, to speak to maybe like your younger self or emerging directors, like what would your advice be to them when they're kind of starting their pitching process and kind of understanding where to begin with that?
So I feel like saying yes is good, obviously, but there comes a point where like you say yes so much that you like lose your own voice in the process, or like you're kind of like getting pigeonholed and you're not even
Mm-hmm.
realizing it.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
yeah.
so I would say to just, you know, obviously, like I don't think you should be too picky. I think you should definitely say yes a lot in the beginning, but you should still make sure that you like love what you're saying yes to,
Mm-hmm.
and that you want, and that yes represents a part of your brand that you like see longevity in, if that makes sense.
Ooh, that is juicy. I love that quote. Saying yes to longevity, saying yes to your brand. That's good. That's really
Yeah,
good.
that I lost my, like, I didn't lose my way, but like I feel like there's so much more I want to say than what I've actually said, and now I'm like trying to pick up the pieces of that, where
Mm.
I'm, oh my God, because it's what you said, like there's so much time we put into these things where it's like, my mom's like, you could have written 3 feature films with the amount of trees you wrote that didn't get picked, and I'm like,
Oh my.
yeah, but we always want to choose to like, maybe we'll get it. We're like so like hopeful that it might happen. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's a fine balance of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. Such great advice. It's so nice to talk to you on this level. I learned so much and I can't wait to like spend more time with you. It's fun to have more director friends and also like more female director friends that are just killing it, and we can like commiserate or support each other however the hell I can support you.
Yeah,
So I
so
appreciate the open dialogue,
absolutely. Congratulations on this platform.
this venture.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
very helpful to a lot of young creatives. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, yeah, supplying us with your open-minded feedback and insights. And yeah, so wait, where can we find you? Let me see if
You
I can put your well, yeah, just like share your
Yeah, you could
share your Instagram.
be on here on Señora Directora, and then you could find my longer stuff on RoxanaBaldovin.com.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, have an amazing week
Yes.
and we'll chat soon.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye.